Alrighty. Hi, I'm Chaz, also known as Kyle the monk, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
I like Kyle.
personally it'd be super interesting to have some of like the fifth edition D&D powers to use in real life. And there are some like abilities that I think are overlooked in the D&D world because there's so many like cooler abilities that would be
Mm.
super cool in like today's day and age. Like for example, like a thing I can think of immediately is minor illusion. It's
Oh
this
shit.
cantrip that I think most people have on their character sheet. They're like maybe they use once, twice, three times, but
Mm.
in the real world, being able to create like a 5 foot illusory cube of like anything or just a sound somewhere would be so sick. I mean, you
Yeah.
wouldn't really become like a super powerful person or anything, but it would be cool for party tricks. You could
Mm.
probably go like on America's Got Talent and just be like, it's magic,
Yeah.
guys,
No.
or something like that.
Yeah. The question is though, like, so in this hypothetical, does everyone have like one ability from D&D, or is it just you? It's completely unique to you.
Mm, that's a great question to ask because if it's completely unique to you, that would change what you choose, right? Because you might
Yeah.
want to choose a like a healing ability just to be, like the most beneficial. But if everyone's got an ability from D&D, you can kind of do whatever you want. So I
Yeah.
guess there's two avenues to explore. I think if I was the only person with an ability, I'd probably choose like some sort of good healing spell or something like that,
Yeah.
in order to be like the world's best doctor. But if everyone can do it, someone else can do that stuff, and I'd rather do something sick like major image or some
Yeah. Sure.
illusory magic. I don't know.
Uh,
What do you?
Well, the thing is, it's okay. So if we're talking about abilities, because
Hmm.
you're mentioning like different kinds of spells, right?
Right, right.
But doesn't like isn't spell casting and pack magic, isn't that considered like a class feature? So isn't that technically an ability in itself, which means that you could learn multiple spells potentially, or are we limiting it to like one spell?
That that is the question because there are certain feats in the game that allow you to take like one spell. So we
Oh yeah,
could say that it's like one ability, one spell, or just one thing, or what class would be the most useful. This question can branch out and
mm-hmm.
encompass a lot of things. I think if we limit it to one thing, that makes the decision a little harder because if you can have spell casting, then you can have like 20 spells, and that makes the
Yeah,
decision a lot easier. But if you can only have one spell or one ability, it's a lot harder.
yeah. I haven't played a spellcasting character yet, so not I the most familiar I am with spells is the campaign that I'm DMing right now because it's just like every
Mm.
turn it's like all right, I got to look up what this spell does, I got to figure out how it interacts with my characters that I made. And there's some fun ones. I mean, I
Super fun.
the campaign that we're in right now because okay, I really enjoy D&D, but like I don't know that much about it even though I'm DMing a campaign. I've only been
Right.
playing D&D for like 6 months, maybe not even. No, probably
Hmm.
been 6 months at this point. Uh, and I'm really into it. But our campaign that we have together is fifth level, and that's the highest level characters that I've ever like
Right.
actually played with. Because I know that once you get up past 10th level, magic starts getting ridiculous, like just
Yeah.
absurd levels of power. Is there any spell or like ability at higher level that you can think of that if someone in the real world had it, they would just be like
Ooh.
tremendously dangerous? Like,
Easy. So there's a spell, ninth level. So once you're a 17th level caster, this is basically like top of the game. It's called True Polymorph, and
all
you
right,
can change into any creature that is in a D&D book with a CR level equal to your level or lower. So let's say
okay,
if you're a real person and you have a ninth level spell, that means you're at least a CR 17. You can turn into any creature, and after you concentrate for the full duration of the spell, which is 1 hour, you like become that creature until you
god
die.
damn,
And then as you die that creature, you go back to yourself and you can cast the spell again.
that's
So you could turn
insane.
into a dragon, go like blow everyone up. No one knows who the fuck you are because you're a dragon, right?
Yeah.
You could just go like burn down a whole city and then you could just die if you
Yeah.
like, just jump off a cliff and choose not to fly. Then you just walk around as, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm Chaz. Wow, there's a dragon attack? No way. Poor
Yeah.
Helga, like whatever. So
you
that'd be
know,
really cool.
okay, but here's the thing though is I mean obviously you'd have to look up the spell, but it's like okay, so you can turn into any creature from any D&D book, but that applies to the world of D&D. So in the real world,
Mm.
would it apply to the world of D&D or would it apply to our world so you can only change into like a hippo or something?
I think if it only applied to our world, it would be fine. Because polymorph, you're still able to change into humanoid creatures as well. So I could just become like Joe Biden for a day.
Be
Just
Joe
run around
Biden
as
for a
Joe
day.
Biden. That'd be so funny, right? You could do so many like comical things with it, and then you could turn into whoever you want, and then they shoot you, and you turn back into a regular person. They're like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
But
So
like it's very exploitable
you become Joe Biden, and you
until
go,
you die.
you walk into the Oval Office just as Joe Biden, and you're like, I'm gonna
Mhm.
make a TikTok account. I'm gonna make TikToks for those kids, and then you just start doing fucking like if Joe Biden made a TikTok and started posting shit, that would everyone would lose their goddamn minds. It'd be
It would
insane.
be hilarious. Now think
Yes.
about this. Is what I'm thinking about. I don't. The spell doesn't necessarily say that like the because it's not an earth spell. The person is alive or anything. So theoretically, in this theory, you could potentially turn into something dead.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I could be Abraham Lincoln, walk around. What does this society come to? And like you heretics, or
uh,
turn into just someone crazy. That'd be hilarious, right? I could be
yeah.
um like Winston Churchill for a day and walk around Britain. That would be hilarious. I don't know. I think it'd be a really fun spell. I can't really think of anything maybe besides like true resurrection. You just need to know the person's name, and
Mm.
then if they're dead within the last 200 years, they come back to life with like a full body and everything.
Oh
So
my
you could
god.
revive a bunch of people. That might be the most busted spell actually. You just need like 5,000 gold, or maybe it's 25,000 gold worth of gems. Some
Uh,
absurd amount of gems. And
yeah.
then, you know, they come back to life and you're like just talking to Albert Einstein all of a sudden or whoever you want to talk to.
Yeah,
Of course, you
dude.
couldn't bring like the founding fathers back or anything like that, but you could bring some pretty old people back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, okay, I'm pretty sure there is like a conversion like a conversion table for D&D's currency into real world currency, right?
I've never seen it. I have no idea.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that there is. I know that the way that they calculate it, I think it's in the Dungeon Master's Guide, they calculate
Hmm.
it by like saying, oh, this is how much this person living in these conditions would make a year earning this much cash. So it's like kind of a general idea. I don't think there's an exact conversion. I'm sure you could figure it out. Put some crisp $100 bills in the bank, pull out some rubies, and you're like, all right, it's time to talk to Cleopatra. Like,
That would
could
be
you
so sick.
talk to? I mean,
She's too old, but you
yeah.
could talk to oh man, who could like any scientist of importance recently? You could talk to people who died too young, in your opinion, and you could
Mm,
like you could bring them and you could bring them back. Like someone who died, and you're like, oh, I think they deserved a longer life. Like I could bring back Kobe Bryant, for example.
yeah, there you
You know,
go.
and then I'm sure the world would love me or anything. I could bring back JFK. You know, I could bring back Abraham Lincoln. It's just anyone that you could think of with enough money. And I'm sure, like, if you bring back the right people, you're going to have connections and money, and you can just keep bringing people back. And then, of course, rich people would pay you, hey, if I die, bring me
Oh,
back.
that's so true. That's
But
so true.
and then you might, get captured, and they're like, okay, we're going to put a gun to your head, and you need to resurrect this person for us, or you die.
Yeah.
Some crazy things would happen.
You probably want to keep it a secret, right?
Exactly. But,
Bro,
the person you bring back is going to know.
oh,
That's
that's
the thing.
true. Okay, you know who you bring back, or at least who I immediately think to bring back? You bring back Bob Ross. That's what you do.
Bob Ross, that's sick.
Yeah.
Okay, give me your top five list. Which people are you bringing back first, and why?
All right. Bob Ross, just because I feel like the world needs more of him. I feel like he'd have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of important things to say.
1,000% agree.
Um, who else? Oh my God, Jimi Hendrix died too
Mm,
young. Best
mm-hmm.
guitarist ever, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Make some kick-ass tunes. Oh my God. Okay, it keeps going. I I don't know if I'd necessarily want to bring him back because I don't think he'd appreciate it. But George Carlin, the comedian, I feel like
Mm,
would
yeah.
have some probably stupid but just really entertaining things to say about like the last 10 years of politics that I
Oh
just like
yeah.
want
Yep.
to see. Um I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before. There's a guy who I knew in college. I didn't know him very well, but he passed away. He was very, very young. I believe it was a drug overdose. I'd bring him back. He was a really
Yeah,
nice
that's
guy,
cool.
and I think that he deserved a longer life. And then five. Oh man, I'm having so much. I'm trying to think who's dead that I admire and think is cool.
Mm-hmm. 200 years ago, so you could go like
Oh,
far back.
200 years ago, I'd bring back my granddad.
That's sick. Nice and
Yeah,
sweet.
just so I could chat with him a little bit more because I didn't really know him too well.
Yeah, that's
Right.
sick.
I mean,
Good
I would
list.
if I actually had this power, I'd think about it a little bit longer. But those were the first five that came to mind. Be like, yeah, I'd do it.
That's a good list. Not gonna lie, I can't disparage it at all.
What would be a D&D ability that if you had it in real life, it would you would literally never use it? Like for a normal person, it would just never ever be useful.
Probably Featherfall. If you fall at least 60 feet, you can as a reaction cast it, and then until you hit the ground, you fall 60 feet per round, and you take
Mm.
0 damage. So for most people, I feel like that's just not going to come up.
Oh yeah. Who like
There's
that would really
Go ahead.
suck because if you fell like 20 feet, that could kill you if you fell 20
Oh
feet,
yeah,
but it's
50
not.
feet. 50 feet would totally kill you.
Yeah. But so it has to be 60 feet though.
I mean, you can't. It's a reaction. So with D&D, like physics laws, it works. But in our real world, after like a couple seconds have passed, you've already fallen. Farther than probably have time to react. I don't know
Yeah.
if it would work as per D&D rules, so you'd be able to react on time. But
Yeah.
for most people, I just don't see them using it. Although you could become like a sick base jumper.
Yeah.
No
So
parachute.
okay, yeah, no, that is one thing. I feel like for daredevils, that would be a really interesting thing. Like, if you know you have this ability, you're like, yo, if I wanted to, I could literally just jump off the Empire State Building and just float to the ground, and it would be fucking awesome,
I feel
right?
like for most D&D abilities, if you only gave one to a person, they would find a creative way to use it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's their only thing. So they're going to have a lot of time to think about it. Whereas if you're a D&D character, you usually can swap out your abilities through level up, or you can ignore it because you have other things you can do. But there's a spell that I have never taken. I've never seen anyone take. It's called Illusory Script, where you
Hmm.
can like obscure 25 words of writing so nobody can read it. And for me, I'm like, that's so lame. And D&D, that is the dumbest shit. Like, who wants that? But in the real world, maybe you could find a use for
Well,
it. Like you could cheat on a test, or I don't know.
yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know. You're
It's just
writing in
not
your
very good.
diary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like who cares?
I think this is something that I want to try at some. It's rough because the only way you get to make new characters most of the time is either if your character in a campaign that you have dies
Hmm.
or you start a new campaign. And obviously that's a
Hmm.
lot of turmoil and commitment. I have like 6 or 7 different D&D character ideas lined up, so it's really hard to be like, "Oh, I want to do this one day." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, in a couple years when I get the chance to try all these other characters."
Right.
But one character I would love to play is one where I literally roll for everything, like race, class, all the stats are
Oh yeah.
randomized, every
Yep.
ability or like score improvement or spell I take randomized, and just go with it and see what happens. I think that would be a blast.
That would be pretty cool. I've done similar things to that. The problem is, in my just for myself, is getting inspiration for a character. Like I'll roll, and then
Mm,
I'll be like, "That's an interesting mix-up," but I don't know like who that person is per se. That's
no.
the fun part about D&D for me is figuring out who a person is and then why they chose a class.
Right.
You know, for
Mm,
me, I was like, Kyle. Okay, this dude who's got this. I won't spoil too much of his backstory, but this tragic backstory,
mm,
and he's kind of all alone. What would he do? He's like kind of got this vengeance side to him. He likes killing people. Okay, and he's
yeah.
kind of all alone. He's gonna work on self perfection, become a monk who's got this dark side. So that's kind of how I came to find the character of Kyle.
Yeah, I'm enjoying. I mean, we've only had Kyle in our lives for 2 sessions, but I am quite fond of him. I think he's a very entertaining character.
That was the perfect sequence. I got
Yeah.
so lucky. So great. It's a nice change of pace from the old character who had highest stat of a 14, which was pretty rough to play with at times because that's not very good.
Yeah.
But it
Uh,
was a nice challenge.
for people wondering, we had sort of like a mid boss encounter that our DM had like specifically worked on. It was like an important like character story moment, and Chaz's character Kyle fucking decimated this mid boss. Just one round, just done. There was a crit. It was insane. I
It
think
was great.
I don't know if Ellie is changing what happened because she confused the stats. Ellie's our DM, by the way. She's been on. I
No,
don't.
so what happened is it's integral to the story,
Yeah,
and she didn't expect that kind of death.
it's
So
really funny
the
though.
the character's effectively going to be incapacitated in terms of combat, and we'll be able to decide her fate, but
That's
um,
awesome.
the killing blow has been retconned to more of a disabling blow, which I'm fine with. I still
Hell
in my
yeah.
mind know